All right, before we get started, hey, chatters, just so you know, let's just take a look. My shirt.
Hey!
We got merch.
We got merch. If you want to be a chatter, you need to buy the merch. That's my little song. I don't know.
3, 2, 1, record. Hey, chatters, I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the Crime Chat.
Yay!
It just reminds me of the Share Care Bear. The
With the big rainbow on his chest.
Yes, the Share Care Bear. Aw. Yep. So are you ready for this week's Crime Chat?
This is a crime chat that normally I would kind of start off with some little tidbits, some little, information that I've collected before about your topic. But I think your topic is just so interesting and such a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
We should just kind of get into it because I didn't read it. So I don't know who you're going to speak about, but I know the topic is really in the news now and it affects everybody. And I think, I can't wait to hear what you're going to go over.
Well, I mean, today's topic is going to be quite controversial.
Yeah.
But we're not scared. We'll talk about controversial topics, and we're going to get through it together.
Yes, and should we all, chatters, we're all going to get through this together. And if there's any questions or that you have about today's topic, contact us, because we want you guys. We want to know what you guys are thinking, because these are the topics that we do cover are hard sometimes to read and go through.
And if we don't talk about it, that just means that we swept it under the rug with everybody else.
Right.
And we're not going to do that.
Exactly.
So today's topic is about posthumous pardons. Now, I will say, I literally had to go to Merriam-Webster and do the pronunciation because it is taking me forever to know how to to pronunciate posthumous. I was like, is it posthumous? Is it posthumous? I didn't know
That's
how
to
pronounce it. It's posthumous.
Posthumous. I was saying a posthumous, but it's posthumous. Okay.
You may have heard of some folks who have been actually posthumously pardoned. For one, Jim Morrison, the lead singer of The Doors.
Yeah, I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah, Morrison was convicted of indecent exposure during a concert in 1969 in Miami, Florida.
Okay. I didn't know that. I mean, it sounds right. It sounds accurate.
It sounds about right?
Yeah.
So he actually died 2 years later of heart failure in Paris at the age of 27. I didn't realize he was so young.
Oh my God.
27. Most pardons are at the state level, and only about 175 have actually occurred since our judicial system inception. 40% of those 175 have been minorities, with most of them being Black Americans. Yeah. And then about 85% of that 175 occurred in the 21st century. So we're talking in the last 2 years.
Wow.
And 85% of those posthumous pardons. That's crazy. Yes. Now, 50 of those have been granted in the last 3 years. And among them was Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner's 2019 posthumous pardon, his state's first, of the very first of Illinois. It was Grover Thompson, a Black man with a history of mental illness who was convicted 23 years earlier of stabbing a 72-year-old woman. DNA evidence and then another man's confession eventually exonerated this man. Hollywood, but it reminds me of Boardwalk Empire, when you have Nucky Thompson, his brother Eli, ended up going to jail, and he goes to the oldest son and he's like, look, you're in charge now. You're obligated for your family. The oldest son was like 19 or 20 or something like that. But that's how it was then. I mean, that's a legit representation of 100 years ago where, the breadwinner, if you will, was, killed or in prison or something like that, where they could no longer provide for the family. It was then the responsibility of the oldest male to do so, to take care of the family. And and in the story, they had Eli Thompson, he had I think he had 8 kids or something like that. But I mean, the mother, that's all she did was taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
They had to have money come in somehow, but they,
Of
you know,
course.
looked at the oldest son, and that was like a legitimate representation, is you had to provide for this family somehow.
Yeah, and families stuck together, and
Yeah.
you eliminate a breadwinner, especially a male, in 1920, you are at that point cutting a family off at the knee.
Yeah.
Because women could not earn what a man can, and
not even close.
Not even close. And
Yeah.
a lot of these
women were barely even working then.
I know.
And
I know.
to think that they would have a equal pay at the time is just
Yeah.
So not just, you know, for scientific or evidence reasons that people were pardoned. People were also pardoned, awarded based on the laws that have actually changed. So we've had huge changes and amendments in our Constitution, and then the state laws also have different changes. And such an instance was a confidant of Martin Luther King Jr. He was convicted of vagrancy and lewd conduct under laws routinely used to target the LGBTQ community in 1953. So this is even way back when. The gentleman's name was Bayard Rustin. He helped organize the March on Washington in 1963, but 10 years prior to that, he was jailed for 60 days and ordered to register as a sex offender for this vagrancy and lewd conduct that he had. And then just last year, in 2021, California Governor Gavin Newsom pardoned Rustin posthumously, who died in 1987 of a perforated appendix, basically saying that it was because we have such, well, we're in the right direction of like the LGBTQ community and having equal rights amongst everybody, because he was vagrant and had this lewd conduct. He was
when you say lewd, when you say lewd conduct, do you mean him being in a relationship with a man?
I believe so. I wasn't able to really necessarily find those details, but yeah, because he was but then 10 years later, he was part of such a huge act with the March on Washington in 1963 in Alabama. So amazing. Wow. America's governors clearly believe that posthumous pardons have a value. And honestly, personally, in my personal opinion, I do think they do hold a huge value because they're issuing them at a rate never seen before. And like I mentioned, 85% are just in the 21st century, particularly in cases in which racial prejudice is thought to have subverted procedures, denied the rights, or perverted the actual verdicts. And this leads us to my primary story we're going to talk about today. It's the Martinsville 7. Are you ready?
Okay, I am ready, and I know of the case. I don't know the details, so
And I want to say the reason why we chose this, we mentioned, is because we were doing research for the things that we're going to talk about, and this was heavy in the news at that time. And it is something that if we don't talk about, you know, you can't sweep it under the rug.
No, and I think it's just me sitting here saying like I don't know the details. I don't like that. Like this is something that I should know. So I'm happy that you brought this up because I think we all need to talk about this. This is a conversation that we are normally now we have these conversations, and this is good. We need to know what happened. We need to know how these people suffered, and we need to know where we went wrong. So yeah, let's do this.
And I think that and just kind of as a preempt into what I'm going to talk about, the governor of Virginia has started a path in the right direction, and I'll kind of get into it, basically righting the wrongs that have been done for so many years.